Well, I never knew press junkets could be so much fun. So James Cameron has been doing the rounds, doing press for his Avatar, Way of the Water. He's dropped a few little gems that I've covered in previous videos. Now there's a slight detour, if you will, in that he actually waxes nostalgic about Terminator Dark Fate and the disaster that was. All right, so the subscriptions are slowly crawling up like a slow crawling thing. Nonetheless, you guys know the drill, and I do appreciate it. I really do. But if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button, the notification icon, as well as like this video so we can get into that algorithm and keep continuing to grow. Time for the meat and potatoes. So James Cameron was on a podcast here, according to our good people at Bounding Into Comics. Basically, he was asked by the host of the Smartless podcast if he felt he had a responsibility to push a message in his films, right? So the answer should be no. Off the bat, my job is to make money for the studio that gave me money to make the film. Now, if you want to do a message, great, I guess, knock yourself out, but there's no responsibility to do that, right? And if you are going to do it, at least be subtle about it. See Parasite, perfect execution on that idea. However, Cameron says, as Cameron does, quote, well, yeah, I mean, the Avatar films are about the environment. Really? Okay, if you want to have that argument, great. And you know what? I'll even give you credit in saying at least it isn't ham-fisted. I'm not dealing with AI. If I were to do another Terminator film and maybe try to launch that franchise again, which is in discussion, but nothing has been decided, I would make it much more about the AI side of it than bad robots gone crazy. So there's a couple things to unpack in there. Obviously, and you'll probably see some headlines about this, he did possibly the clickbait, you'll never know, possibly just, stream of thought, that there are discussions about relaunching the franchise. So everyone will probably jump on that. Discussions are pretty much meaningless in Hollywood until a contract is signed, okay? The second aspect of that is him talking about how it would now be about AI as opposed to killer robots. Now, this is actually quite interesting from the standpoint that generally speaking, films, especially horror and sci-fi, the umbrella of Terminator, generally reflect the society during the time that they were made. And so, in the early 80s, killer robots was actually kind of a thing. And now, in the 2020s, AI is kind of a thing. Probably should be more of a thing than it is, but it is kind of a thing. So he is staying current, and so that actually presents an interesting possibility, but he doesn't stop there. Now that Terminator Dark Fate has been brought up, he goes a little further into AI. He says, I think it has more to do with understanding human consciousness so that we collectively, human technologists, can create an intelligence that functions the way we do. Okay, hold up. Generally, they call it AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, that is not just designed to play chess and beat your ass at chess. It's designed to solve all kinds of problems. So it needs more of consciousness in the way that we view and react to the world. Dangerous territory here, James. First and foremost, as soon as you apply consciousness to AI, you get into the concept of sentience. As soon as you get into sentience, you get into concepts of right and privileges and responsibilities. So at the end of the day, there is a general and very real concern about AI from the standpoint that it is smarter, faster, better than us. And I'm not going to go to deep dive into that because we got to get on to other things. I would just say this. There should be Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics embedded into every AI, but that's a different video. So finally, we're going to get around to the Dark Fate stuff. And Cameron says that he previously discussed on a press circuit that he believed Terminator Dark Fate failed to connect with audience because they told the story of, quote, your granddad's Terminator, unquote. So he told Deadline, quote, I think I'm actually reasonably happy with the film. Have you seen it? Tim and I had our battles, that's the director, and we both spoken about that, but the crazy thing is, we're still pals, which is weird. Not really. Human beings can forget and forget, brother. Anyways, I liked him before the movie, didn't like him very much during the movie, and I like him now, and I think he feels the same way. We're both these crazy sci-fi geeks, and we like a lot of the same things. And I love his show, Love, Death, and Robots, but yeah, we butted heads, he elaborated. Backing that up, Love, Death, and Robots is awesome. If you haven't seen it yet, you must. So are we going to get around to the Dark Fate stuff or not, you're asking? Yes, we are. Here we go. Cameron then revealed what he believes was one of the major problems with the film. I think the problem, and I'm going to wear this one, is that I refused to do it with Arnold. Tim didn't want Arnold, but I said, look, I don't want that. Arnold and I have been friends for 40 years, and I could hear it, and it would go like this. Jim, I can't believe you're making a Terminator movie without me. It's my terrible Arnold impersonation. It just didn't mean that much to me to do it, but I said, if you guys could see your way clear to bringing Arnold back, and then, I'd be happy to be involved. All right? So, issue number one, you don't make a movie so that you can put your friends in it, right? If the script lends itself towards Arnold being in the movie, great. If it doesn't, ham-fisting him in is not going to accomplish anything, as evident by Terminator Dark Fate. However, let's be honest, Arnold wasn't the problem. So Cameron continues on, quote, and then Tim wanted Linda, which is an interesting statement. I think what happened is I think the movie could have survived having Linda in it. I think it could have survived having Arnold in it. But when you put Linda and Arnold in it, and then, she's 60-something, he's 70-something, all of a sudden it wasn't your Terminator movie, it wasn't even your dad's Terminator movie, it was your granddad's Terminator movie, and we didn't see that. Okay, so wrong on every level. Just because people in their 60s and 70s are in a movie doesn't mean that it only appeals to people in their 60s and 70s. Are you insane? Don't answer that, we already know. The bottom line is you haven't even brought up how terrible of a movie it was in the plot. Message, social justice warrior. The female Terminator was bland, boring, uninteresting, and honestly, far and away, the worst issue with the whole movie, your villain. Your villain, which was just another T-1000 from Terminator 2, but without the charisma, without the intimidation, and, basically without everything that Robert Patrick brought to the role. He was non-threatening, non-interesting, and if you don't have a good villain, nothing else matters. So it doesn't matter. You could have had a great movie with Arnold and Linda that appealed to everybody, not just 60s and 70 years old, if you had just had a good story and a good villain, but you didn't. And by the way, the good story would mean you don't push your message. However, there's more. Cameron said, we loved it. We thought it was cool, that we were making this sort of direct sequel to a movie that came out in 1991, and young movie-going audiences weren't born. They wouldn't even have been around for 10 years. James, are you familiar with the concept of VHS, DVD, Laserdisc, Blu-ray streaming? It doesn't matter that this film came out a long time ago. People are able to watch it and see it, and in the case of Terminator 2, enjoy it, and Terminator 1. Honestly, how out of touch are you? You can't honestly think for a moment that there isn't the availability. Yes, an argument can be made that a lot of kids didn't see the first Terminator movies or whatever else you want to say. That is a stupid statement to make because they could. It's the easiest thing in the world. There's more. So it's just our own myopia. We kind of got a little high on our own supply, and I think that's the lesson there. No. If that's the lesson, then you really didn't learn a thing. Because the lesson is bad script, bad villain, bad message pounding overhead, bad movie, bad box office, bad business. That's the lesson. Plain and simple. They do bring up how much of an abysmal failure it was, how much money it lost. And then finally, thanks for sticking around, we get to the comments by Tim Miller that are possibly even more disturbing and out of touch because at San Diego Comic-Con, he said, Terminator's an interesting movie to explore. No, it's not. But maybe we've explored it enough. Yes, we have. I went in with the rock-hard nerd belief that if I made a good movie that I wanted to see, it would do well. And I was wrong. It was one of those fucking eureka moments in a bad way because the movie tanked. Well, thank you, Tim Miller, for letting us know that a nearly $200 million movie was nothing more than a vanity project for you. I mean, good Lord, not since Todd Browning has there been such a miscalculation, although the Todd Browning miscalculation did result in a masterpiece in Freaks. Tim Miller, not so much. In fact, not at all. And whoever thought, oh, I like it, so it must be good, isn't the hallmark of a narcissistic maniac. I mean, you gotta be kidding me. It doesn't matter if you can like it. I'm not saying you don't like it, but that's not the criteria that you use. If you're writing something, honestly, your impetus, your drive, your motivation, or if you're directing it, or if you handed a piece of writing that you have to direct, is this interesting? Is it compelling? Is there conflict? Is there overcoming struggle? Are there characters that I can and my audience can possibly relate to? That's it. Now you could like it. I'm not saying you can't. I mean, duh, you should definitely like it, but that shouldn't be the criteria. And it seems to be, since that's the first and only thing he mentioned, that's his main criteria. Boy, a lot to unpack there, and we do so in the comment section below. Can't talk, it's very late. So please, you guys, chime in.